Hello, everyone, and welcome to what I'm going to start calling a series of Justice Fatigue, a series in which I take a look at justice issues, court, legal, restorative, serial killer. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with this yet. I came up with it today. So this could be a new series. This could be a one-off. Time will tell. And hark, what do I hear in the distance? Yes, singing the song of the justice people, the sirens of justice. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight on this special Friday night. Satsu has taken the night off for family stuff from Lords of the Night, and so I thought I'd do something a little bit different. That's not Lords of the Night, but still somewhat within my proverbial wheelhouse. So thank you for joining me. Who is joining me, by the way, for this wonderfulness? It's a new word. I'm an English major. I have that authority. Mashishu, hello. Jaeger Pony, hello. Spudgun, hello. Matt Barnes, hello. Mike R, hello. Who else is here? Sean Hooley, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Hi, M. Steve, hello. Advocatus Diabli, hello. Jamie Wilquist, hello. Gamer Valine, hello. Bridget, hello. Brittany Holland, hello. The useless rebel, sorry. You are one and only. Let's see. Ryan R, hello. Peter Silik, Hades 313, hello. John Migda, hello. The gayest person on YouTube, hello. Tall person, hello. Stop me before I break out my Wolfman Jack impression. So what are we looking at today? Well, I hadn't looked specifically at restorative justice in a while, so I did a little plinking delinking on the keyboard, and what did I find? Well, something from the Chicago University of Law, or the Chicago Law School or something, that's going to tell us about what is a peace circle. And I was intrigued because for those of you that have followed my channel for some time, and specifically the restorative justice videos I've looked at and talks and presentations, a lot of times the subject of circles comes up, where the person who has been harmed and the person who harmed and then community stakeholders all sit down in a circle and hash it out. If you'll recall from, I think, my most recent video on such things, the speaker suggested that a domestic violence situation could be solved with an art project. An art project that she never actually ended up specifying, but that's what she said. And that some sort of like civil arbitration amongst friends could solve domestic violence. Now, I have no idea what our speaker is going to tell us today. The video here runs just over half an hour, so we might be able to get to it all today if I don't pause every 3 seconds, but I'm not going to go any longer than a usual episode of Lords of the Night, so 2 hours at the max, and by then I'm sure we'll have a pretty good idea. If we get really bored of it before then, maybe I'll supplement with something else I may have downloaded as a backup. We shall see. Thank you, Pecoraro, the Driving Ape Man, for the Butt Peach super sticker. You can't see it on the screen there, but I can see it. Or maybe it's another kind of peach, or maybe it's some. I don't know. I don't know what it means in Canadian. So, thank you, Tall Person. Can't watch live. We'll watch in full later. Happy International Day of Friendship. Oh, that's the perfect day for today. I was on P-Dog's show earlier this morning talking about stuff, specifically the Lords of the Night. And before I went on, James Colley and Jonathan Peterson were ahead of me in line for the live call-in. And the very first things they talked about was how much they liked the show and Lords of the Night and everything. And I just want to say, and I'll be saying it for the rest of the month, I'm pretty sure, thank you guys so much for all of your support, well wishes, memories, and everything over the last 24 hours or thereabouts. Very much appreciated. And we got a month left. I got a couple of things planned to try out before the month's over with. So there's that. But I am just holding off the inevitable. And the inevitable is a Zoom call or Skype chat, whatever it is, with an expert on peace circles. So this clocks in at 31 minutes, 51 seconds. We'll see if we can get through it all, or at least enough that we are sick of it. Thank you, Redneck Ram. Scribe. Now, just what are you doing on this late at night with this kind of show? Well, I'm here to learn y'all something, or at least myself. I'm here to make peace with the circle. So it's sort of like Sesame Street justice. Today's episode is brought to you by Circle. Beyond punishment, restorative justice, practice, policy, and potential. What is a peace circle? Kyle Kent, I guess class of 21. And then Tomas Ramirez, executive director, Seeds and Roots. Is this a justice seminar or a horticultural seminar? April 24th, 2021. Okay, so this was posted just today, but apparently it took place, obviously, a couple months ago. So relatively fresh for Seeds and Roots. Oh, one quick note. I haven't watched this thing, but I did do a very cursory look at the introduction part, and I chopped out that section where the moderator and then the speaker spend some time talking about themselves or school activities or things that have nothing to do with the presentation. So as far as I can tell, right after our introducer, moderator, whoever he is, host, gives the details on our speaker, there'll be a quick cut where it cuts to black, and then it'll jump into our speaker actually talking about the subject. So I've saved us all about 3 minutes worth of nothing going on in the presentation. Redneck Ram, thank you again. I thought peace was made with 2 fingers. Aren't circles who white supremacy? I don't know. I mean, this is why I'm here. We're going to learn together, Ram. We're going to learn together. So just hold on. Let us all learn together.
Hi, everyone. It's my honor to introduce Tomas Ramirez.
You guys hear that okay? Let me know in the chat. Kyle Kent, class of 21. I was right about that. And behind him, do right and fear no man. Well, what if it's an evil woman? Is that a sign of the patriarchy? I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Is it just me, or does he look like Harry Potter a little bit? It's got to be the glasses and the tie. Let's see. Anybody in the chat? Advocatus Diabli, I do wrong and fear no woman. I don't know if that's quite an endorsement of yourself, but okay. Let's see. Spud Gun, Scribe, it's a bit tinny, but it's not you, it's the video. Yeah, I did try to enhance the audio as best as I could and take out some of the reverb, but it's streaming time, so there's only so much I can do. Hopefully it won't be too terrible. If it is, we'll find something else to do.
Who's here with us today to discuss peace circles and their integral relation to restorative justice and its history.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, Mr. Ramirez is working at the North Lawndale Restorative Justice Court and DePaul University's Peace, Justice, and Conflict Studies program.
North Lawndale Justice Court. I wonder what kind of cases they handle.
In addition to that work, Mr. Ramirez is the executive director of Semias Rice's Seeds and Roots in English, a not-for-profit organization focused on cultural preservation, community healing, and youth development. He is also a youth counselor, conflict transformation and reconciliation facilitator, and a cultural sensitivity trainer.
That's quite the resume of counseling people. All right.
Lastly, Mr. Ramirez is a member of the Chichimeca Nation and is a member of various indigenous organizations in the Chicago area.
Okay.
And he serves as a minister for the Native American Church of the Four Directions Lodge.
Wow, this guy has got an extensive resume of stuff. I feel kind of, I don't know, inadequate.
Before I turn it over to Mr. Ramirez, I'd like to note that after his presentation, we'll open it up to a Q&A when there's about 5 to 10 minutes left.
Okay, and that's the break where I jumped over all the extraneous stuff.
Our work is so serious. It's so serious that we have to be counter-narrative. Therefore, we have to learn to be clowns for peace, and we need to really enjoy and learn to laugh and be joyful to continue to do our work.
Did he say we have to be clowns for peace? That's what I heard. I don't know if that's what he said.
And it's going to get really serious right now for the next 20 minutes.
Okay, well, I'm ready to get serious because restorative justice is serious business. All right, so let's all set aside our kid gloves and get adult.
So question for you, please, thumbs up or raise your hands. How many of you know this amazing piece of Americana, which is called Scooby-Doo?
We're going to get serious. Let's talk about Scooby-Doo. Okay. Zoinks!
All right. Awesome. Now you cannot bail out from me. So because we're going on a journey, I need you to do this with me. We're going to make a transition.
Okay.
All right. So
all right.
Remember Scooby-Doo going from one scene to the other.
Uh-huh.
So here we go. Please raise your hands with me.
Uh-huh.
Come on.
I'm doing
Don't
it.
Be shy.
I'm doing it.
I saw you. All right.
I'm doing it. I'm raising my hands. My hands are up. Don't shoot.
Come on. Do this with me.
Yeah. Okay. Woo!
All righty. Awesome. So now, as you heard before with the previous presenters.
Oh, yeah. By the way, this is part of some series that they just posted in the last day or two. The other Zoom calls or whatever were like an hour or an hour and a half each. And I wasn't going to try to do that. This is very focused on a particular subject. So I thought this would make more sense. So he's going to probably reference other people or things in this.
Restorative justice.
Yes.
Or the search to be in right relationship with, for many of us, it's not a program, it's not a grant, it's not a certification or project. It's our everyday journey to be in right relationship.
Uh-huh.
Which is also part of different warrior traditions.
Warrior traditions. Okay.
Warrior in a traditional sense means the person who carries the burdens of peace.
The person who carries the burdens of peace. Well, okay, I guess in that context it makes a bit more sense, but all right, okay.
Or the people who are refuge for others.
Aha.
Which, but when we're doing this translates into freedom, dignity, land back, personal healing, which also applies to other races, spaces, and times.
Okay, well, just as a preamble and sort of where my mind's going to be going throughout this thing is the same questions I've had on almost every other restorative justice presentation. You'll need to explain to me how a peace circle or restorative justice process works with a victim of rape or the family of a victim of murder. Unless he says very explicitly that restorative justice has its limits in the criminal justice system, which I would be very curious to hear about, because oftentimes I don't hear that it has any limits. I hear that it is the perfect replacement for the criminal justice system, or so much better than the criminal justice system and due process that we currently have that it might as well just replace it all. So that's sort of where the bar that he has to jump to start making me interested in whether or not he has a decent argument. You have to tell me about the most serious crimes and how they would be addressed by a peace circle.
And any of these healing or resiliency practices come in different shapes and forms, as Michelle was stating.
Yes.
Before we unpack what the circle process is, let's acknowledge something pretty big.
Okay.
Until 1978, and this is like a little trivia for all of us.
Yes.
And I also include myself in a lot of this, because although I do my work based in community, I work in the academic world.
Okay.
And we get to theorize, talk a lot about these processes, analyze it, but very few times we're on the ground and really look at what's happening and allow that to nurture us. So this is not unique to this time.
Yeah. Okay.
As was stated already very eloquently by Michelle earlier, transformative healing and restorative practices are rooted in traditional indigenous cultures.
Yes, I've heard that many times. Indigenous cultures practice some form of, they've told me constantly that it equates to restorative justice. However, depending on who you're listening to, they also describe them as tribal justice practices, which is kind of, well, not even kind of, it's going backwards in our developed civilization of justice systems, regardless of where you're at. The tribal systems were, the basis for where we are now. Do we have a perfect system? No. Will we ever have a perfect system? No. But in my mind, it is a very steep hill to climb to convince me that taking a giant step backwards into the most foundationary notions of justice in a tribal and or indigenous sense is a smart move.
And because of that little fact, until 1978, restorative justice practices were a federal crime.
Restorative practices were a federal crime until 1978. I'm dubious just because it sounds very. Again, you'd have to describe to me exactly what you'd mean by a restorative practice that was outlawed federally. Are you talking about like restorative practices as far as like in indigenous communities, or?
We could have gotten locked up by being in a circle process until 1978. Some of us were already alive during that time.
Okay, not to hearken back too hardly to teal deer, but citation needed. Specifically, what is he talking about?
Because anything that was an indigenous practice that promoted resiliency, connection, or being in right relationship, a healthy promotion of culture was banned.
A promotion of resiliency or culture was banned. It was a federal crime until 1978. I mean, I can believe there were things that today are not banned that were banned in the past, but that sounds very bizarre to me. So if you're talking about peaceful vigilante justice or something, then maybe. No, I can't even. I'm not even going to guess until he tells us. I'm just going to be dubious. That's about all I can do.
And it was until 1993 that there was that, like, the Freedom of Religion Act, Native American Religion Act was ratified. That then we were able to expand a lot more things. So just to keep.
Whoa. 1993 Freedom of Religion Act. Okay, again, I'm not a legal scholar or a lawyer, so. Maybe someone in my crack team of researchers in the chat can see if you can figure out what he's talking about. Because like I say, maybe he's right on, and I just don't know. Because he's conceivably talking to law school students, so maybe he's just preaching to the choir or talking shop with people who already know this stuff. So maybe that's what I'm missing. But that sounds very bizarre.
Keep things in context. Nowadays, I mean, this was not unique to the original nations of this continent. It has happened all over the world, where you have communities who are working to be in right relationship with self, others, institutions, nature, technology, and that which people might call the metaphysical or spiritual.
Okay. Country to country, freedom of religion and or freedom of belief is, it can vary. It's true. I still have no idea what you're talking about, because you're conceivably talking specifically about America with federal crimes, 1978, 1993 Act, etc. So are peace circles a metaphysical practice then? Because conceivably they are meant to address crimes on the temporal plane.
When you have all of this in balance, which is another way to call right relationship, you have sustainable communities. And in a sustainable community, you're going to have cultures that promote peace. Where you have peace, you have culture. Where you have culture, you have peace.
Not to go too sci-fi on something, but you know, the Klingons had culture, and they were a warrior sort of society. Would they actually be able to operate in quote unquote the real world? No, but peace is not a requirement for culture. You could have culture in a very, very, very tumultuous situation. So does that make it a sustainable society? Or no, not necessarily, but okay.
And that tells you how much work we still have to do as a nation. But what I want to point out is that when we have that, those spaces, those practices, a few things start to happen. People develop themselves sociopolitically. Translation, there starts developing a voice.
So people can't develop socio-politically, can't develop a voice except in peaceful environments or restorative/resilient communities. Now remember, guys, this guy runs a restorative justice court, whatever that is. So you can't get much more of an expert than our speaker. So I just want to keep that in mind. We're not listening to some, you know, fringe individual in that sense. He's in the thick of it.
And if they have a voice, they're able to have influence. And if they have influence, they can change their environment after they first are in right relationship with themselves and transform themselves. And that's when you hear some of these beautiful statements of liberation, of healing. So the restorative practice could be an affirmation. There was a young man by the name of Stephen Biko.
Stephen Biko. Do I know that name?
In South Africa, who made this as radical, beautiful, and transformative and healing statement. Black is beautiful. Imagine how powerful that was. I mean,
yeah, in South Africa, at what I'm assuming the time frame he did it in, I'm sure it really was. What does that have to do with anything?
Costing his life, but nobody could take something away from him.
Let's see. Going to the chat real quick. My crack team of researchers been called the Driving Ape Man. So far, all I can find is a correlation to retributive justice, i.e., street justice. Yeah. So punitive justice, retributive justice is the opposite of restorative justice. That is what a lot of the speakers have argued against, is replacing a punitive or retributive justice system with a restorative justice system or a healing justice system, depending on who we're talking about. So, yeah, that's sort of the give and the take of the whole thing. Let me check real quick. Anybody else give me anything? Advocatus Diaboli, does he mean not doing things according to federal law was considered a federal crime and that trying to do justice outside the system is frowned upon? Again, I'm not sure what he's talking about. What was outlawed until 1978, and then what was, I don't know, additionally allowed by the time we got to 1993? I don't know. And Pincala one more time. Restorative justice represents a validation of values and practices that were characteristic of many indigenous groups, whose traditions were, quote, often discounted and repressed by Western colonial power. Yeah, that lines up with a lot of what I've heard previously. So, okay. So when do we get to the part where you tell us about how peace circles work?
Which was his sense of belonging, his awareness of the self and community, what he was connected to. Translation, he was a dignified human being.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, anybody protesting racism and apartheid in South Africa, I believe that's what our speaker was talking about. Yeah, that was a righteous cause, certainly. Black is beautiful could be taken a lot of ways, depending on what context you decide to take it from. I won't, roll the dice and trying to speak for somebody else in their meaning, unlike our speaker in this instance. But yes, I agree. Now, tell me about the Truth and Reconciliation Councils in South Africa after apartheid, and tell me how well they did in review afterwards, if we're talking about restorative justice. Thank you, Mikalo, the driving man. You missed a paragraph. I did. Western colonial power. Oh, go up a chat. Oh, sorry. Apologies. According to Howard Zare, quote, 2 people have made very specific and profound contributions to practices in the field, the First Nations people of Canada and the US and the Maori of New Zealand. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry, chat moves around and I don't get to see everything all at once. I apologize. Okay. What happened now? Somebody got blocked? What happened? Figure out you'd actually blocked yourself. What's going on in the chat? Are you guys doing shenanigans? What's going on in the chat? Don't make me come back there. Whatever the hell that means. Kiever Dam, what did you do? Kiever Dam, you blocked Ebony Williams? What? What? All right. I'll let it go for now.
And a dignified human being is a real threat to the narrative of power and control.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And that's why restorative practices were banned until 1978.
Restorative practices were banned until 1978. Okay. What happened in 1978? I'm dying to know now.
And they're still banned in different parts of the world.
If you're talking about people enacting extrajudicial justice practices outside of the law, i.e. vigilantism, then yes, I would imagine they're probably outlawed in other places. But since you're not going to tell us what you mean, seemingly, okay.
That's what happens in the circle process. As long as people are able to come together to share their stories, to hear each other's stories, to see each other being courageous, to witness people being vulnerable, to reflect the best qualities of each other, people are going to know who they are.
Okay, and I'm sure I'll repeat this in one way, shape, or form as we go. What if the rape victim does not want to sit down with their attacker? And that is conceivably you found some way to assure and affirm that the person accused of the crime actually committed it, which is the other factor that I rarely hear about when it comes to restorative justice. But let's just pretend for a moment that there is something like due process prior to a peace circle. What do you do if a component of the circle chooses not to participate?
Or they're going to develop new realities. People are going to be resilient. So that's what happens in the circle process. Imagine a little universe where everybody's respected.
Imagine a little universe where everyone is respected. Well, you know, as Han Solo once said, I can imagine quite a bit. That doesn't make it a reality or even conceivable in reality, but okay.
Where everybody gets to tell the story without interruption.
Oh, God. A world where nobody gets interrupted. Dude, you have described my Shangri-La.
So some of you who are judges, I'm pretty sure that you have seen that. I mean, you're conducting your session the best that you can. And there's always an angry young person who's really frustrated and you're trying to understand, like, what's happening? It's because they don't understand our legal protocols. But the main thing is that they want to tell their story.
Yeah, well, if they want to tell their story outside the judicial process, that might not be advantageous to them. Conceivably, they have a lawyer to speak on their behalf. But then again, I don't know what you're talking about. So
they want to tell their story.
Yeah.
They want to explain themselves. That doesn't mean that things are not going to change or they're not going to deal with some specific consequences.
Then why is telling your story at all relevant to anything?
Or accountability, more on that soon. What is that? Because people don't get to tell the story. One of the most powerful things that we have when people come to the circle process in the Orlando Restorative Justice Court is that in the first session, our participants in the circle get to tell their story and to see how radically different it is from other settings.
Okay, so I'm really hoping he will give us some even just abstract, active example of how a peace circle works. Because people coming in and telling their stories sounds a lot more like a support group than it does a process of justice. But maybe we'll get there.
Especially when we are really honest, we operate in historical context where the erasure of people's stories or the punishment towards some bodies specifically with darker pigmentation has been a lot of the focus of this accountability process or this punishment, of this retribution or these justice systems or structures is one of the most radical things. That's when they start working on their freedom, their resiliency, their dignity, and awareness of the self.
I have absolutely no idea what he was just saying. If we were doing a bingo card on this, that would be word salad right there.
So all of that happens even in just one sitting.
In one sitting, everybody tells their stories, builds resiliency, healing. Okay.
So in the circle process, everybody's the same.
No. I mean, unless you're going to describe something completely different. I mean, again, I came in here with the assumption that we're talking about what I've heard from other presenters regarding circles. And that is, you have three components. You have the victim, you have the offender, and you have community stakeholders, whatever that means. It may be someone in between, but otherwise, those are at least the three primary components to any kind of restorative justice circle. So unless he's talking about something else, and if he's talking about something else, I am curious to know. But no one is the same in this thing. There are three distinct elements, three distinct parties.
Everybody, that's why we sit in circle. So it takes away a lot of the hierarchy. One of the most beautiful things that we witnessed also in the restorative justice courts is that everybody sits in circle. A new person shows up, a new participant shows up, and they start to freak out. What on earth is going on?
There is a hierarchy because presumably, absent a system of due process, you have someone there that is already assumed to be guilty. You have someone there that is already assumed to be the victim, and you have other people there that are overseeing it. There is a hierarchy. It is a system of justice. What?
Whoa.
Yeah,
whoa. Everybody's in circle. I'm at the same level. I mean, don't tell anybody, but we might be even in violation of some code when even our judge sits at the same level. I mean, I don't know. Those of you who work in the legal field should be more aware of that. Not me. I'm just a clown.
Don't tell anybody. We might actually be violating some kind of code. Well, I won't tell anybody except however many potential millions of people that could see this broadcast, if only. But you go with your bad self there, Justice Maverick.
Then even there are little power distance messages that we get because we live in a highly hierarchical environment. So when you're in the circle, that does not exist. I'll give you a very tangible example, one more tangible example of this.
Wait, didn't you just say there was a judge involved in your circle? And there's no hierarchy? Or did I misunderstand?
When you come to our court in Orlando,
yeah,
our current Judge Spratt.
Okay. Your court in Orlando, Judge Spratt. Your restorative justice peace circle court, where there's no hierarchy. Okay.
He's not wearing her robe.
Oh my God.
Talk about being with the people.
Yet still carries the title of judge.
Now, this is one of the super radical things, which is highly welcome, because all of a sudden, you don't feel that right away.
Not wearing a judicial robe is highly radical. Well, in the course of general tradition of the justice system, I suppose that would be radical, tubular, cowabunga.
No, let's say we internalize hierarchy a lot. I see my aunties or my mom, and right away I start listening like, oh, like I did something wrong.
Because you're a beta?
Imagine when we're in different settings where there's a lot of hierarchy. So the circle process, used by sitting in the circle, allows us to look at each other, not hide. I mean, you were a student like me in high school, you will hide in the deepest corner, so you'll not be called upon, or you didn't have to participate. That does not happen in this circle. The spiritual aspects of everybody's life are accepted, are invited. We start the circle. One of the components of the circle process is that we actually engage in a ceremony, an opening, and an acknowledgement. I'll talk more about it in a second.
A ceremony and an acknowledgement. Is it going to be a land acknowledgement by any chance? I'm just guessing.
And different people have different practices. You know? You have people who are from different churches who might read from a sacred text. Personally, we do traditional songs. So somebody else might say a specific prayer. My friends from Circles and Ciphers, they're into hip hop a little bit. Now, so they're really good in coming up with some rhymes, but we have our ceremony, we have our acknowledgement through that.
Hip hop prayer ceremony. Okay, if everybody from all these different, let's say, ethical backgrounds, religious teaching, whatever, do they all agree upon this system that you've imposed? How does this work? What crimes do you handle? Who sends candidates for this system to you? I'm very curious.
So, being in circle, our little acknowledgement, and we can start focusing on things such as making decisions together, transforming a conflict. We could analyze a situation that resulted in harm being created.
Yeah.
Or cause.
Yes.
Maybe to develop cohesion as a team. There's a beautiful team that is here today. I'm going to give them a shout out, the Peace Ambassadors. You get to hear from some of them later today. Okay, please get to the part where you describe how the team of the victim and the offender and the stakeholders do whatever they're going to do to resolve the conflict of the crime having been committed. We also get to share difficulties.
Yeah.
And the main thing is that we get to learn from each other's human experiences, the good and the not so good.
Yeah.
All of that happens in the circle process.
Why does the victim, or the presumed victim, depending, why do they have to share the not so good about themselves? Are they required to confess to something in order to even themselves out amongst the team? So many questions. Redneck Ram, thanks so much. I'm so confused by all this. Is he saying that they are operating some kind of extrajudicial court within the U.S. that doesn't follow standard law? I don't know. I honestly do not know. You'd have to look up him and whatever his organization is. It was like the North something Restorative Justice Court or Restorative Court. Again, my crack team of researchers for supplementary information on the stream, you'll have to help me out here because I have to dive further into this.
At the same time, let me get on a little bit more academic or a clinician perspective.
Okay, yes, academic, clinician, more facts, less fluff would be appreciated.
As people are like really analyzing their metacognition. You know,
metacognition. Is that okay?
The way that they thinking about the way in which they think.
Yeah.
They start going through a process that also starts developing a more conscious voice,
Uh-huh.
awareness of their communities, and their connections at all these different levels of conflict or the opportunities to be in right relationship. Real fast. Self, others, and these are huge. Self, others, institutions, nature, technology.
What? I keep getting the sensation that he's just stalling. Okay, no, this guy is an expert. This is what he does. I'm listening to someone who does this for part of their work. I'm constantly, minute by minute, reminding myself why I am here, to learn something.
That which we might call spiritual.
Poker. I just joined and honestly thought this was a guest that you were interviewing. Well, honestly, I would love to interview this guy. I would love to be able to ask some very straight, direct questions and try to get around the drifting that we're doing, because I have some very, very specific questions for anybody who acts in an official capacity in regards to restorative justice. So maybe I'll try to set that up in the future, if such a person would be willing to talk to me, because I really do have some very direct questions.
So, and all of these great sustainable communities.
Uh-huh.
When this starts to happen, it's those bonds, those relationships, those balanced relationships that allow us to be very courageous, to take very specific steps into new directions or all directions, and reclaim the best part of ourselves.
None of that means anything at all. That is absolute. I mean, I don't even know if I'd call it sophistry, because it doesn't even really sound convincing all on its own. What is a peace circle and how does it work? Please give us an active example of the process.
So the circle process,
ask and ye shall receive, maybe,
is really strong because it can really contain anger, frustration, joy, pain, truth.
Conceivably, hopefully, it would have to manage all of those things if it's trying to achieve some kind of justice for a criminal act.
Look, I am your father. Imagine.
Luke, I am your father. I got to back up on that one. That's
Luke, I am your father. Imagine that in a circle process.
Okay, Luke, I am your father. Okay, so Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, in a circle process. Who else is involved in this circle? Because you have the victim and the offender. Who's the moderator in that one? Who's the judge? The Emperor? I mean, well, it's Cloud City, so it's got to be Lando, right? He's the administrator. Oh boy.
The very diverse worldviews, very intense feelings. Man, I don't like you to wear your Green Bay Packers jersey in my house. Very intense.
What?
By the way, like as you can see, all these processes have very real life applications.
No. What processes? What processes? You've told us nothing about processes. All you've said is abstractions and adjectives and high-minded notions. You've not talked about any process, except there being a judge, even though there's no hierarchy. The judge doesn't wear a robe, which is totally radical, dude. And then there being a circle and a team where everybody's the same, except that they're not. What are you talking about?
And we also, the circle is strong enough to contain silence.
Oh,
As a
God.
society, we're overstimulated,
Uh-huh.
and we don't know how to be in silence. When I have fun, go to a law class and just be quiet.
You have fun by going to a law class and being quiet. Whatever floats your boat, dude.
That's a little shade throwing to my friends in law school. And I already spoke to some of these. Hey, God, please keep me on task because
Keep you on task? You're a grown adult. This is your presentation. That's your responsibility. What? Oh, man.
I just start going off. All right.
Yeah, no, I've noticed. Lord, do I wish I was there as some kind of wingman for this to keep you on task.
You have our sitting circle. We have our ceremony.
Yes.
We have our talking piece.
Uh-huh.
We have our facilitators.
Okay. So again, there's no hierarchy, but you have facilitators, you have a judge, but there's no hierarchy.
Some people are very specific about guidelines or specific protocols, and then we take it out for a spin.
Take it out for a spin. Okay, tell me what that looks like. Half of your talk now has been absolutely nothing.
My good friend is Steve Bayer. Shout out to his book Talking Stick, and also John Paul Lederach. Little book called Conflict Transformation. That's a really great resource. Really easy and affordable for your students.
Yeah.
Address the intentions of the circle process.
Okay, the intentions of the circle process. I would assume I can guess by now, but thank you again, Redneck Ram. Deco has some info for you in chat. Oh, thank you for that. Okay, let's see. Scrolling up so I try not to miss anything. Okay, Deco. He, Tomas Ramirez, runs the North Lawndale Restorative Justice Community Court. All right. They have eligibility on their website. I'll put it out in two parts. Person charged must be 18 to 26, charged with a non-violent felony or misdemeanor. Okay. Live in North Lawndale. All right. Have a non-violent criminal history and accept responsibility for the harm caused. Okay, so they've already had to have confessed to the crime, I'm assuming. Non-violent felony or misdemeanor. Okay. Now, maybe he'll get to that himself. I wish he'd actually told us that. Maybe he'll get there. And in that instance, with those conditions, I might sound okay. The victim of the crime must also agree to participate. Okay, so if the victim does not agree to participate, I'm assuming they'd be looped back into the regular justice system. Assuming. Okay. Quote, defendants who successfully complete the program may have the opportunity to have their charges dropped and arrests expunged. Okay. Yeah, okay, all right. So this isn't being pitched as an end-all be-all replacement of the criminal justice system. This is a diversionary program, effectively. Okay. I wish he just said that. You know, Deco has basically given what this guy should have done in the first 5 minutes. Maybe we'll get there now.
We try to speak devoutly from your heart, to listen devoutly from your heart, to speak spontaneously, and to be of lean expression.
To be of what expression? Sorry.
Devoutly from your heart, to speak spontaneously.
Yeah.
And to be of lean expression.
Of lean expression? Okay. All right. So the question of what happens when you have a rapist and their victim, or a murder suspect or a murderer and the family thereof, does not apply here. Cannot apply here. Okay. Well, that reframes things very quickly.
I complemented with a lot of my traditional teachings, which focus on 3 basic human needs. And most healing, transformational, and restorative processes will have this, will address these three needs. The need for inclusion, put me in, coach. I want to be part of something. A lot of young people join alternative social clubs because of this need of inclusion. And this has another way of being in relationship. We're communal beings, and these processes are based in community. And some people may say, hey, Tomas, I know this old man that lives in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, in the mountain, whatever. Like, oh, that person is in community. That person is in right relationship.
Okay, I hate to do this right now, but as we're coming up on the top of the first hour, with Decode's explanation from the organization's own information, I feel like almost all of my questions about this particular presentation have been answered. It's not a proposal for something to replace the criminal justice system, unlike a lot of other restorative justice things. And in that sense, I can appreciate it because a lot of the other restorative justice presentations talk as though their proposal is an all-encompassing solution for the criminal justice system, or the criminal legal system, as they like it to be called these days. Thank you, Mike R. This guy really needs subtitles. I've gotten the gist of most of it, but yeah, it's a little bit difficult at places. Okay, so this isn't an all-encompassing solution. This is a diversionary program for nonviolent offenders who have already confessed to their crimes. So it's not like there has to be a trial, a finding of fact, or any kind of, conceivably there's been some due process before this option was presented to the defendant. So 18 to 26, nonviolent crime, nonviolent history, and the victim has to attend. Okay. And truth be told, I don't fundamentally have a problem with that idea. Those prerequisites sound reasonable to me. I'm not so sure about all of the, pardon me if I'm being reductive, crystal gazing hippy dippy stuff that he's talking about on the sidelines. But as far as it's not, inherently religious or something you're imposing upon somebody who gets into this process, I don't particularly care. If it's just for show or just for, maybe that's my one sort of like big question mark about this is how much of an official process is this if a lot of the rhetoric around it sounds like self-help book type stuff. So, okay. I think the mystery has been solved here. Nothing about the information I had, what little I had of it before this presentation, told me that this was a limited in scope proposal or process. And that's often what I've looked for in the restorative justice presentations. It's like, are you going to tell me that what you're proposing is good up until this level of crime and nothing beyond it, or something like that? So, I could listen to more of what he has to say about it, but Deco kind of solved the mystery. So, with that being said, and us being at the top of the hour, I don't know. Shall I move on to a different topic that might not necessarily be about justice per se, but might be about a separate topic that I've dealt with in the past? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. I got to arrange a couple of things on the off chance you guys agree for a diversionary alternative here. Let's see. Yes, I'm doing some technical things behind the scenes here to prep another video. One that you may or may not appreciate. I don't even know if I'll appreciate it because I haven't watched it yet, just like with everything else. But I'll take a couple of minutes ahead of the top of the hour for questions and responses to what we've watched so far. Let me get this back up here. Gamer Valine says, do it. Bridget said, sure. Mike R says, yes, please, and thank you, Scribelight. Redneck Ram says, works for me, Scribe. Spudgun says, have you got any more of that lady that has the wrong lighting? Oh, no, 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 no. Anti-racist hoodie lady? No, no, I don't have her on deck. Close, but not quite, as far as I can tell. Peter Silak Katie's 3 and 3. I trust your judgment, Scribe. Whatever works for you, mate. Well, in my own personal healing circle, I suppose that makes some kind of sense. So let me see if I can't do a couple of things. First off, I need to change outfits. So excuse me a second. Okay, there we go. And don't mind the title, because I hadn't planned on this per se. So the title is not the title of the video, but we're going to find out what the title is together in a moment. Let's see. Deco. Damn, I feel like I ruined the party. LOL. At least we got something more entertaining. Well, I was going for educational, and you educated. And we listened to his pitch, and we got the gist of how he looks at what he does. And then you gave us everything that I was hoping for in the first 5 minutes. So this was a collaborative effort. Let's see. Meshishu, you decided to forego the woman from Undoom's video for this? Oh, yeah. No, I watched Undoom's video, and I have an aversion to doing the same subject that I've already watched someone else cover, just on the off chance that either inadvertently or accusations otherwise, I'm just copying somebody else's routine. So no, I'm not going to cover Undoom's thing. I leave that to him, and he did a great job, by the way. If you guys want to see somebody going over educational white privilege and CRT, check out Undoom's new video. But similarly in that vein, we return once again to our friends at, say it with me, the National Association of Independent Schools, or NAIS. And what will we be talking today from our friends at the National Association of Independent Schools? Why, connecting the dots in culturally competent leadership for independent schools, climate, recruitment, hiring, retention, and accountability. I don't know what that means, but I can guess.
This process is in service to building community that we say we want.
The community that you say you want. Okay. And those are some very impressive earrings. They look like little cowbells.
It simultaneously requires, asks, and invites people to grow cultural competency in the process of doing a hiring process and growing a hiring process that actually prioritizes and emphasizes that value.
Okay. And how, by what mechanisms does your hiring process achieve that value of cultural competency? Dare I ask?
And those skills.
If your rhetoric matches what you actually want to have done,
Uh-huh.
then these are strategies you need to employ.
Okay.
Practical strategies that actually work
Okay.
to make sure that you are hiring every single position with an imperative for critical skills and cultural competence.
Critical skills and cultural competence. You'll forgive me if I get a little suspicious at the word critical in this context, and also that cultural competency or cultural proficiency, oftentimes, as I've heard them used in presentations and otherwise, are effectively synonyms for critical race theory or critical theory in general. All right, for those of you in the cheap seats or listening at home, there's a card up that says, what does cultural competence mean for independent schools? Well, I am dying to know.
Cultural competency really evidences that these are skill sets that are grown. It's endless because the students who are in our classroom and the people who join our communities are always changing. Therefore, there is no end point. However, it is a path to growth.
What?
In addition, I would say independent schools, I think, have grown up to position themselves as people who have the resources to make sure that every child grows and thrives in a healthy manner. But for independent schools to not deal with critical issues that shape the systems that operate in government at individual level means that we're not equipping students to operate effectively as inclusive leaders and just leaders.
Excuse me a moment. Thank you.
In the environment.
Okay, I feel so much more edified now. Next card. Who should take the lead in this work? I could guess. Those that have the lived experience necessary to align themselves with the inclusivity of the paradigm shift.
Who should take the lead? The people with the authority to make the change need to be leaders in this.
Really? The people with the authority to make the change should be the leaders. You don't say.
So the heads of school can't take a step back and say, well, we've got a CDO now, so I don't have to do anything.
A CDO? Oh, Chief Diversity Officer. Took me a second. Okay, well, what does a Chief Diversity Officer do then? If the leader or person who's running the school is not going to delegate that out to the person whose title it is to achieve that end, what are they supposed to do?
Unless you're going to give the CDO power to hire and fire.
Which would be a very dangerous prospect in this day and age, wouldn't it?
And hold faculty and staff and administrators accountable.
To this day, I have never yet heard what they mean. And not just teachers, but in any instance where I'm heard that you need to be held accountable. How? What constitutes a violation? And what is accountability in said situation? They never detail what being held accountable or who has the authority to do this outside of, say, the boss or the principal or the dean or whatever. Always wondering.
The head of school, because of the authority that he or she has, is the person that needs to take a lead there.
You don't say.
But there are all kinds of places where leadership is necessary.
Can you imagine that? Among staff, faculty, and so on in a school, there's a lot of leadership that's needed.
In the classroom, for example, leaders can emerge very organically. And from that perspective, everyone is engaged.
No. Leaders don't emerge organically in a classroom unless you're going to start assigning students different tasks. The leader is the teacher, the paid instructor, the person that is there to teach. They are the leader first and foremost. There may be leaders amongst the students that the teacher can then employ or, bring in to help the other students if we're talking about tutoring or other tasks. But no, the leaders are not organic. They are decidedly emplaced
in this process.
I'm never disappointed by the National Association of Independent Schools to edit their videos in such a way that whatever segment we are on, the people speaking never actually answer the question to any reasonable degree. Who should lead in this? The person in charge of the school. Okay. And then a whole bunch of fluff. Next card, strategies to ensure a school's hiring process is culturally competent. Okay, even though my hopes are low, this is the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. Tell me, I sound like the guy from Family Feud. Show me mechanisms for achieving a culturally competent staff through your hiring process.
We attract culturally competent candidates by not just having on our websites really interesting rhetoric about that, but by making sure that we're advertising a position that includes cultural competence woven all the way through the duties and responsibilities, because culturally competent people want to see that you're going to value what they bring.
Okay, maybe in the miasma of this, I have missed it. Did they ever actually define what it means to be a quote-unquote culturally competent person? Explicitly? Ever? I mean, again, I can assume, but I'm obviously wrong, so...
Secondly, we need to advertise in places where the most culturally competent teachers, administrators, faculty tend to be, which
is where? Okay, maybe this will give me the answer. Where do you advertise to find culturally competent people because you know their habitats?
does not necessarily mirror the group of people that have come out of independent schools.
What?
If we're attracting culturally competent folks, then every bit of the process after that has to reinforce the idea that this is important for us. So we don't ask questions in interviews like, is diversity important? Why is it important in independent schools?
You don't want to ask questions like that. Okay, under what circumstances would you feel the need to ask somebody that question? I guess.
We ask questions like, give us 3 examples of the way you've altered your curriculum or pedagogy to deal with issues of race, ethnicity, and class in the classroom.
How about I treat the students like students and I don't dwell on non-determinative factors of their lives and their potential? I wonder what they would do if somebody answered it to that effect in some way, shape, or form.
And why did you do what you did? How did it work? And what did you learn from that you're going to bring to our school?
So you, in the process of hiring someone, you inquire as to how they are going to value race, socioeconomic, class, ethnicity, whatever else you said, in the classroom, or address those things. That is your litmus test, or at least one of them, for hiring someone who is culturally competent. Got it.
The first question you can fake. That question you can't.
The first question you can fake. That question you can't. So you can fake the question, what is diversity? But you can't fake the, how did you, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back and listen to what that question was again. I apologize.
We don't ask questions in interviews like, is diversity important? Why is it important in independent schools?
Okay, so you can fake that question. But the real question was what again?
We ask questions like, give us 3 examples of the way you've altered your curriculum or pedagogy to deal with issues of race, ethnicity, and class in the classroom.
Race, okay. How you've altered your pedagogy to address issues of race, ethnicity, and class in the classroom. What if I've had no issues? What if I've just taught my students as students, treat them as students, not as colors, not as ethnicities, not as tax brackets? What if my addressing those issues is to make them irrelevant to the teaching process? I really would be curious to know what our speakers would say or how they would react if they got that as an answer.
And why did you do what you did? How did it work? And what did you learn from that that you're going to bring to our school? The first question you can fake. That question you can't.
Okay, next card. How can schools build accountability into this work? Yes, please. Oh, please. Tempt me with an answer to an age-old question I've had and not answer it. NAIS.
The first part of accountability is not coming in and saying, this is the curriculum we teach, this is the way we teach it, but saying, let's talk about how you want to approach our children, our students. How do we want to make sure, no matter what our demographics look like, that every child, every student is coming out of our school with a sense of equity, inequity, justice, injustice, and the way the world works in terms of connected systems.
So you don't have a curriculum that you expect teachers to teach. You're just asking the teacher how they will fulfill your expectations of ideological indoctrination over the course of their time teaching students. And that's not a curriculum in and of itself. And what does any of that have to do with academic achievement? You want to promote equity, but you want the teachers to assess their students on the basis of race, ethnicity, and class. Got it.
And so how is your curriculum going to do that?
No. Okay, well, how is you... We don't give you a curriculum and say, this is what you have to stick to. No. We have very specific ends we want you to meet with whatever you're going to do. So no matter what your curriculum is, you will revise it to achieve the ends that we have dictated. But we're not telling you what the curriculum is. Do you have any idea of what you just said? Do you have any idea of the inherent contradiction? I'm assuming not. Or if so, you're lying to yourself.
And the good news is, if you actually change your processes, your practices, your strategies, this actually works.
What works? How? What does it mean to work? Like, give me your success story. All right, give me your ideal outcome. Works it? You've got 17 seconds, at least 10 of which are going to be the outro. So lay it on me.
So if you really want the change, it's doable, it's practical, and it helps you actually live up to your website.
Live up to... You know, for an organization that represents schools, their promotional videos are horrific teaching tools. And I should know. I've looked at quite a few at this point. So there's that. Now the other question is, do I wrap this up? Or do I go to something else? Oh boy. I mean, I've only got 45 minutes left, you know, so I don't know. I don't know. Let me look into my little library here. Do I have a very brief something? A very brief something. Something. No, I can't play Laser Pope. That'd be too much fun. I can't play police body cams. I've got all these videos that I've archived for different reasons. No, I can't do that. That's all copyrighted stuff. Oh. Well, now the question is, what's the sound quality on this? Because the sound quality on this might be not good. Let me see here. Oh, it's terrible. Okay, can't do that one. Yeah, TEDx. I gave it away. I'm looking at my TEDx collection right now. TEDx, yeah, sound quality is oftentimes a roll of the dice. Yeah. Okay, well, in the absence of something more substantive, I might just call it here. But, oh, wait. Or, well, I don't know that I ever did. I have another NAIS. So why not? I've got the overlay up. Might as well. Let's take one more dive into the wonderful world of culturally competent something or other, maybe. I don't know. I'm flying by the seat of my pants tonight, guys. This is all one big potpourri of magic. So let's do one more. We'll close things out with whatever this is. What is this? Because it's a mystery box to me. File could not be accessed. Oh, what did I do wrong there? Let's see. Let's make sure I got that. Oh, what? Huh? Hold on a second. That doesn't help anything, does it? What did I do wrong? Yeah, okay. So, no, I don't want that. I wanted... Yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted this. Sorry, guys. One second. Technical difficulties. I know this is a very, very exciting part of the show. Flying by the seat of my pants. And thankfully, I am wearing pants. Otherwise, I'd be in big trouble. Okay, there we go. Let's try this instead. All right, so cultural competency, hiring, etc. We're going to move on to National Association of Independent Schools. Equity and inclusion, bringing about systemic change from the inside out. Now, fingers crossed that I haven't played this one before, because I don't remember it, but maybe I'll be reminded very quickly.
I would say our strategic plan is called Our Work Together.
Our strategic plan is called Our Work Together. Okay.
And it really has been how have we distributed the responsibility of the work into different areas of our campus so that many different offices are holding the work and are actually involved in it.
The work. One of the most quasi non-magisterium religious phrases I have heard over and over again in the last several years. To do this work, the hard work, etc. The work.
We moved from a model of having one director of diversity, equity, and inclusion to a team model.
Okay, so this work, sorry, maybe this is about their titles. Let's go back a second. Okay, we have Debbie Bensadon, okay, Assistant Director of Equity and Inclusion, Lakeside School, Washington, and Stephanie Wright, Upper School History Department Head at Lakeside School, Washington. Okay, so you guys divvy up the diversity and inclusion, equity and inclusion responsibilities, is that it?
Campus so that many different offices are holding the work and are actually involved in it.
How we moved from a model of having one director of diversity, equity, and inclusion to a team model. And it's really helped us to build capacity and to move our school in the direction that we think matters most for students.
And what direction might that be?
And in a way that helps everyone at the school to feel that it's their school.
That's the goal of diversity, equity, and inclusion, to make everybody at the school feel that it's their school. Okay, first card up. Why is school culture so important in equity and inclusion work? Well, because if you do not tame the culture to adhere to your personal ideology, well, then it doesn't work. At least that's my reflexive answer.
I think that, the culture of the school will really drive everything that happens, regardless of what's written in the strategic plan.
You don't say. Sort of like a game master knowing that their players are going to take the story in 17 different directions. And so don't plan out your game in a very highly structured way because it's going to fall apart real quick. I can empathize.
What this has allowed us to do, I think, is really shift the culture because we've gotten buy-in from so many different constituencies. People really feel like it's also their responsibility to move the school in the direction of being more equitable.
The direction of being more equitable. So do you guys just toss out grades? What exactly do you do to achieve equity in your school?
And crafting curriculum that is represents the different cultures in our school. And they've really taken that on because they know that it doesn't just live with one person, it lives within the life and culture of the school.
Crafting curriculums to reflect the different... what if your classroom has kids with a whole bunch of different backgrounds? How do you placate all of those possibilities? What does it mean to craft a curriculum? I'm not going to get an answer, am I?
I would add the diversity is already there. We already have students of color, we have students of difference, we have communities, we have
students of difference. Okay. I hate to tell you this. Every student is different, even if they're identical twins.
LGBTQ families, the diversity is already present. And so if we're not making sure that every student feels seen, valued, and heard, then we're not doing our jobs as a school.
You can do that by engaging with your students in the classroom, regardless of their quote unquote difference. Just treat them as a student, not as some kind of novelty act.
And that needs to be seen in, like, whether it's curriculum or if it's cultural events that we host, or how they feel in their athletics fields or in the arts programs. Like, they need to feel seen, valued, and heard.
Seen, valued, and heard. Okay, I don't know what grades the Lakeside School covers. I feel as though it's, at best, kindergarten through junior high, because it didn't say high school. Engage with your students as a teacher. Teach them as students. Address them by their names. Be attentive to teaching them both as a group and individually. Have them raise their hands and ask questions. Engage with them on that basis. What does any of that have to do with what they look like? What does any of that have to do with where their family comes from? Tell me.
And if we're not providing that culture for them, then we're not thriving. They're not thriving.
Next card. What steps can schools take to build capacity for DEI work? Let's see. You're going to have to get... there's going to be something about buy-in from administration and or parent. I'd be curious if they ever bring up parents in this, but they might. They might.
One of the things that we need to think about is that we meet people where they are.
I have heard that phrase used in so many instances, in so many presentations, and for the life of me, one to the other, I have absolutely no idea what that is supposed to mean. Maybe our speaker will finally solve that riddle for me.
And I think that if you really just acknowledge this is where people are in our community, this is where we are as a school, I think that's a huge first step to knowing, like, what is it that we need? What is it that our school needs? That's kind of like a first step is self-awareness.
And I think
What are you talking about? What does that mean? What does our school need? I mean, is that for the resource officer? Is that for the person who stocks the filing cabinets or the art supplies or something? Why am I asking? I don't know.
too, I mean, in terms of building capacity, I think sometimes we don't ask people what else they're interested in and ways that they think they can contribute. And I think many of our schools have faculty who sometimes have, and staff who have some hidden talents and who have knowledge that's outside of what they're teaching.
What, like what?
I think this just provided an opportunity to feel, for people to feel what they saw as something that they could contribute.
What?
And so they've kind of really stepped up and done that in ways that are, in some cases, unexpected.
What are you talking about? Seriously, what? That was absolute pablum. Nothing. There was nothing there. You know, if I had absolutely no sense of ethics whatsoever, I could probably make a killing in the DEI industry. Because after listening to all of these things, I could probably fake my way through a job like this without a whole lot of heavy lifting. Because it certainly does not seem like it requires it. Oh, sorry, the next card. How can schools support teachers and hold them accountable for creating inclusive classrooms? Well, withhold their paychecks, threaten them with termination. I don't know. You tell me, what is holding someone accountable in this situation? I've been dying to know.
One of the things we talked about when we moved to the team model that that our head of school thought was important was that the people on the team who were working with faculty were really trusted by other teachers. And I think that's been the foundation for a lot of the work we've been able to do with faculty, is that so when I meet with them, it's not to judge their current teaching practice.
You're talking about accountability, but you're not there to judge. Accountability without judgment. Oh, Nelly.
It's really to figure out, like, what do you think is going well? And so it's just having a conversation or starting with a conversation about where do you want to take things, and how do you want to show up in your classroom so that you're connecting with all of the students in your classroom.
Yeah, I'm totally just asking you what you'd like to do in order to achieve the end that I want you to achieve. But I'm not here to judge, just to hold you accountable, although you can do whatever you want. Gosh, this sounds very familiar to a video we just watched about 5 minutes ago.
So that's been a part of the support is, we actually meet individually with each faculty member about where they are.
So you meet individually with each faculty member as a team of diversity, equity, and inclusion officers at the school. So there's at least more of you than there is of the teacher in the room, but you're not there to judge, and you want to just hear how they're going to do their stuff, as long as they achieve a particular. Okay, yeah, all right, I'm getting what you're laying down
in terms of creating an inclusive classroom and where do they want to be, and then serve as a thought partner for how to get them there.
a thought partner, not an overseer, not a director, not someone in charge of the aspect of the curriculum that they have to adhere to. No, we're here to be a partner, air quotes strongly applied. Oh, that was it? Okay, well, golly, I got two administrators from a completely different part of the country and or world. I really wasn't paying attention to the titles in the first one. And then two more from a different part of the world, a different situation, and yet a lot of similar themes and a lot of things not being explained. But that's what you get from the National Association of Independent Schools, one of my favorite sources for information on what's going on in education today, or at least what might be oncoming as a popular trend. I'll take the next couple of minutes for any other comments, questions you guys might have, and then I think I might wrap this up. I don't have any other outstanding videos in my repertoire here to to look at that as I scroll through them. I got something that's an hour long. I got something that's 20 minutes long. I've got a music video. Yeah, probably nothing. I probably can't do that. So let's see. So if you have something you'd like to say, something to put out there, put in the chat now. Advocast Diablo, dear Christ, and people want one of these things to be CEOs or president. I got nothing against the people. It's the ideology. It's the thought process or the couched language, or the very sort of contradictory notions about what they say versus what they actually mean. I don't know what else. I don't know how else to put it. It's like, oh yeah, we're just here to sort of be a thought partner. You can do what you want. We're not here to impose a curriculum upon you. Just we want very specific ideological ends to be achieved by the time these kids leave your classroom. That's all. That's all. Spudgun, Scribelight, how are you doing today? I'm doing okay. A little overheated because of the weather. It was a busy day work-wise because it's month end and billing and all that fun stuff, and I'll have to pick it up again tomorrow morning to finish it off. So I'll be up early at the regular time, which means I'll be going to bed relatively soon, probably. Otherwise, I'm okay. And again, like I mentioned earlier in the show, for those of you that joined late, I want to thank everybody who's just the outpouring of positive comments and memories and everything that people have been throwing at me, and I'm sure Satsu and Monkey as well, about Lords of the Night, as we will be coming to a close on August 24th for that show. If you don't already know, and apologies if you don't already know, and I'm being the bearer of bad news. But yeah, I got to talk to P-Dog today and hear from some other people, and yeah, that's lifted my spirits in an otherwise stressful day. So that's kind of how my day's been. Mike R, is this going to be a nightly show, Scribelight? I don't know. I have a outside idea that I might try to turn Justice Fatigue into a regular series. We shall see. I couldn't promise anything at this point. I'm kind of spitballing. In the next few weeks, I'll be spitballing some things and seeing what resonates with people. Now, obviously, this is a special occasion as I was going all over the place, and the thumbnail is not going to obviously encompass all of what I covered here. It'll be a surprise for those watching in the future. But as far as like trying to split up things into very specific categories, Curriculum of Fear covers education, and criminal justice, restorative justice, things just in the justice system, bail, that kind of stuff. I might start turning that into its own sort of segmented series for keeping things in its own category. So that's an idea I've got. We shall see. Redneck Ram, well, have a good night then, Scribe. I'm off to bed. Get good sleep, Ram. Thank you so much for your generosity and for sticking around tonight. Mike R, is this going to be a nightly show after Lawton, Scribelight? No, again, I don't know. Nightly? No. The routine will be either once a week or once a month for different things. So like I might do a Familiar with the Matter once a month, and then TED Excellence once a week, and then sprinkled in between, maybe some scripted content. The weird thing was I was looking through my project files folders today, just sort of on a whim, and I found a folder for a video project that I did everything but record the audio for. I had a script, I had all the inserts, I had a thumbnail created, and I'd completely forgotten that I'd done that. And it was just sitting in a folder, and I'm like, all I have to do now is record the audio and edit it together, and I'd have a scripted video again in about a couple hours. So the next video you see from me that's scripted may be that one. I won't give it away on what it is, but man, I made up a funny thumbnail. So we'll have to wait and see. Mashishu, overheated, you say, Scribe? It's 66 degrees here by me. Oh, good for you. Wait, that's Fahrenheit, right? Not Celsius? I'm assuming. Keeverdam, we love you, Scribbles. Oh, thank you, Keeverdam. Spudgun, an idea might be to take a few days off before you try to fill more of your time. Be kind to yourself. Yeah, there will be a sort of period after Lords of the Night is over. I'm not going to immediately jump back into stuff. But that same week, because I think the 24th is a Tuesday, I'll still be doing a TED Excellence that week. But as far as any nightly stuff or regular stuff beyond that, yeah, I'm going to take a breather to assess. I got some projects in mind I want to try my hand at. And I'm sure a lot of things will come to me or change between now and the end of next month. So we shall see. Jaime Villarreal. Wow, I'm sad to hear the Lawton is going away. I'll miss you the most, Scribe. Oh, thank you, Jaime. Yes, August 24th, which is Satsu's daughter Aaliyah's birthday, her second birthday, will be the last show of Lords of the Night. So looking forward to seeing as many of you there as can make it, or hearing from you in the comments otherwise. And between now and then, hopefully we'll have some special nights in between with guests and memories and other little things going on. So we'll take that as it comes. But with that, wait, what's this? Mike R. I guess message retracted only works sometimes. Okay. I wish I had the unsolved mysteries thing to play right now, but I don't. So maybe I'll just go with this.
Wowie, wow.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this off-brand broadcast tonight. Appreciate you all coming out. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents, you can find the two of us Monday night on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for The Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved and polite and friendly and loving that you have very little to do. Everyone who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. I may be doing a stream Sunday morning to do a continuance of the Abolitionist Teaching Network video I was looking at last Sunday, so keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, everyone, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Friday. I hope you all have an excellent weekend. I hope you are all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.